For those of y'all who seen my community post last night, y'all already know what's about to come. And by the end of this video, I don't give a fuck who gets mad or deep in their feelings. In fact, fuck your feelings. Because I ain't gonna give a fuck whose feelings I hurt either. This has to come out because it's obvious when it comes to the incel community, their so-called solutions are not working. And I'm gonna give out a full breakdown. And before I even get started with this video, I'm gonna post links in the comments section of this video because the last time I talked about incels was when these stupid ass therapists who sitting there claiming that they about finding solutions to the incel problem ended up exposing themselves as not caring at all. And they wonder why the problem is only getting worse. And this is why I stated in which I put in the title, their solution to the incel problem is not working. In fact, it's making it 10 times as worse than ever. I ain't gonna do an introduction on this one. But for those of y'all who haven't seen, that video is also going to be in the comment section as well. I mean, it's ironic. The same people who wants to cry about incels needs to get help, needs to seek mental therapy. Well, when they go to these therapists, this is what they get.
Sit down and tell an Indigenous person that there isn't systemic problems in the mental health care delivery. The issue is that typically therapists who treat them are white, and so there's massive cultural gaps that the client has to basically catch their therapist up on. They might not feel comfortable with a white counselor or the institution itself. When you look at incels, it is obviously not the level of oppression that Indigenous people have experienced, but they report very similar struggles. Their therapist typically is a woman who has no conception of their experience or the culture or the problems that they're coming from. And the humanities as an institution itself is deeply biased and hateful against these groups. And this is shown in the literature. So of course they're having a hard time finding good therapists because most therapists are women who don't understand incels and feel uncomfortable with them, which is fucking fair, by the way. And also the institution itself doesn't care about this group and is actively villainizing them within research itself. Nobody would sit down and
And yet these will be the same ones who constantly complain to these incels that, oh, y'all need to go seek help. Y'all need to go seek mental help. Y'all need to go seek therapy. But at the same time, this is what these therapists think of the incels. And rather, just by me hearing about this shit, as a therapist myself, I'm disgusted. So you mean to tell me the exact same ones that's telling these incels that they need help are the same ones who's not only and intentionally putting them with therapists that can't even help them to save their life, but also demonizing them, vilifying them, and condemning them, while at the same time, they living in fear. Well, guess what? This type of shit is not working. And I pray to God, these incels who are seeking therapy from these lame therapists don't see this video. Because if they ever see this video, this is going to lead them down that dark path which they are afraid of. That same dark path that led to some of those incels going on extreme rampages. So basically, they don't give two shits. While at the same time, but these incels need help. The hypocrisy is oh so real. And they wonder why the incel community has grown 10 times, no, not 10 times, 100 times as big as it has. And now all of a sudden they are afraid. Well, I'm going to say it like this. If the problem has not gotten any better, and at worst, it got even bigger than it already has, then that right there tells me that their solution is straight, utter bullshit. And let Uncle JD say this shit right here. Condemning, demonizing, vilifying these incels is your solution, then you're full of shit. All you're gonna do is make the problem worse. In the worst case scenario, some of these incels, and I ain't bullshitting when I say this. Some of these incels, if they realize that the people that claim that they need help, and they need to solve and they need to have solutions, is also kicking them while they down. You can't tell me that this shit will not lead them down a dark path. Shoot, I'll go the extra mile and say that there are content creators on YouTube. That there are content creators on YouTube that's giving out better solutions than these therapists. Actual content creators on YouTube. And if you are one that's actually reaching out to these incels to help them out, big salute to y'all. Come on now. Y'all can't just be whining, crying, bitching, and complaining about incels, but yet ain't got a single solution to solve the problem. And no, calling them terrorists is not a solution. Telling them to commit suicide is not a solution. If anything, they throwing more gasoline on that incel fire. Then these will be the same ones to where if another tragedy happens, these will be the same ones like, oh, why they didn't get no help? Why they didn't get no help? Why they didn't seek this? Why they didn't seek that? I wonder why too. You see, if I could scroll down and find some of these, you actually got content creators who at once were condemning these incels, now turning back and making apology videos. Because they thought by condemning them, demonizing them, and vilifying them was the solution until they find out that they were dead wrong about the shit they were doing. And yeah, it takes a real person to admit that they're wrong, that they was wrong about what they did. Salute to them as well. You also got others that's telling y'all that, listen, condemning and demonizing these incels is not a solution. Is not a solution, which of course is true. And as far as I can say in this situation, for those of y'all who are doing that shit, y'all becoming your own worst enemy when it comes to the incels because now you're giving them a reason. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say this right here. I'm not justifying these incels if they get out of pocket. And if they do go out of pocket, then they need to be punished, and rightfully so. But as far as I've been seeing, by these retarded fucks demonizing and vilifying these incels, not giving out solutions, and just constantly berating them, thinking that's a fucking solution, is only making the situation worse. And rather, what they actually doing is pushing these incels even further over the edge. No, that's what they actually doing. They are pushing these incels over the edge to the point to where they falling into a dark place. And when they fall into that dark place, ain't no telling can happen. This is why I myself, for years, I've been studying this incel culture, learning all the things that make these incels tick, even coming up with solutions as well. Now, I'll go ahead and tell you this. The solution to the incel problem is not an easy one either. You see, everybody thinks the solution to the incel problem is easy. Everybody thinks the solution to the incel problem is cut and dry. No, it isn't. And for those of y'all who actually studied the incel culture, you would understand that the problem with the incels is so complex that it's not just one problem. That, say for instance, you put 3 incels in one room. Let's look at incel number 1. Incel number 1 is struggling in the dating and the relationship market. He has a hard time finding a mate. Okay. We see his problem. But let's look at incel number 2. Incel number 2 has the same problem as incel number 1, but he has an extra problem. Not only he has a hard time getting a date, but he is also socially awkward. He has no friends. No one to turn to. Or as we call them, as society call them, the cornballs of society. He's completely socially awkward. No relationship, no friends, no nothing. Okay, but let's take a look at incel number 3. Now, incel number 3 also has the same problems as incel 1 and 2. But except he is the reject of society. No date, no relationships, socially awkward, no friends, and worse, his upbringing was abusive. Yeah, you heard me, abusive. And I ain't just talking about from the home either. His parents were abusive. The neighborhood where he was born and raised in treated him like shit. He always get bullied at school. I mean the complete outcast. And what's worse, because he's been treated that way as he grow up, he has a resentful nature. And oftentimes that That resentful nature will soon turn into extremism. That's right. Incel number 3 is the Elliot Roger and other incels who are like him. That's built. I mean, abuse will do that to a person, incel or not. But you see how complex this situation is? So we can't just say the problem with the incel, there's only one problem with the incel community. There are multiple problems that need to be addressed. Did I'm sorry, did I lose you yet? Please try to keep up. This is what I got from the incel community. And yes, I do have my own solutions. In which I'm gonna go ahead and say this right here. For those of y'all, if all y'all want to do is just whine, cry, bitch, and complain about the incels and have no solutions, go sit in the back. Because ain't no use for y'all to sit there and say that these incels need help, these incels need therapy, if y'all don't fucking care about them at all, but all y'all want to do is bitch and complain about them. Sit down and let the ones who want to help these incels make better decisions, have solutions, and make them feel better for society. Let them do their job, because obviously you don't want to. For the ones that are, keep up the good work. And ain't it funny? You got content creators on YouTube that's giving out actual solutions more than the therapist. And yes, that shit disgusts me when therapists is telling these incels to go seek help, and when they do seek help, this is how they treat them. Not helping them with their incel problem, but rather demonizing and vilifying them. And these retired fucks call themselves therapists. You disgust me. But as I said, shout out to the content creators out there who are coming up with solutions to the problem. Shout out to the ones that are admitting that they were wrong about the incel community. And yes, those links will be in the description box, by the way. Shout out to the ones who's also calling out this whole incel lynch mob, because their solutions to the problem is not working. Time to get back to the drawing board and rethink the strategy here. Because the ones who are demonizing and vilifying them, these are the same ones who are wondering why the incel community has grown 100 times as big as it was before. And by the end of the day, all that bitching and complaining, no solutions. The incel population has grown even further, and now they're even more afraid than ever. And as one person who apologized to the incel community, he stated this, and I fully agree. There are two types of incels. You got the ones who are shy, harmless, ain't gonna hurt a fly. But then you got the other type of incel who's been knocked down, kicked down, used, abused, and completely outcast from society, to the point to where they have a resentful nature. And that resentful nature, once it gets to a boiling point, always leads to tragedy. And I hate to be a Star Wars geek, but I can't help but remember what Master Yoda said to Anakin Skywalker. Fear is the path of the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. This is why I say that society's solution to the incel problem is not working. It's only making the situation worse. This is why the Secret Service and Homeland Security failed to address and stop the incel problem. And yeah, you could talk about the FBI if you want. Why hasn't the FBI shut down the incel community? That's a question everybody should be asking. I'll tell you why. Because the FBI believes that, oh, all these incels are extremists. If you use these certain words, then you're an extremist. But yet there's nothing to back up their claims and evidence. Then you have the media pushing this false narrative that all incels are extremists, in which of course that's far from the truth. And what's more, the people who actually understand the incel community and finding solutions to solve the problem, they know that's bullshit. Out the gate. But as I said before, we set back and let society come up with a solution to the incel problem. It ain't working. It's failing. So now it's time for the ones who can actually come up with solutions to the incel problem. Stand up, raise up, and let's put it into action. And with that, that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I said what I had to say. I'm done. Links will be in the comments section of this video, and I'm out this bitch. Later.